We try to keep in touch with our PR firm as much as possible and say like this is who we're reaching out to for affiliate. And they have listed us on CNET and a few other websites like that. I'd say we probably relied on 20 to 25% of all of our sales as directly linked through that article for the whole next year. So we've
Wait,
since
wait,
then
sorry.
invested.
That one
Yeah.
article drove a quarter of your sales for the entire next year as well.
Yes, that is the beautiful thing about affiliate is it's the gift that just keeps giving. Affiliate is like the best.
Q4 is the busiest time of year for e-commerce brands. And if there's one thing that rings true year in and year out, it's that you have to get your shoppers' attention quickly. SMS makes it easier than ever to connect with customers through their phones. Trusted by brands like Brooklinen, Native, Fanjoy, and more, Postscript is the go-to text message marketing platform for brands on Shopify and Shopify Plus. Learn more and get started with a free 30-day trial at postscript.io.
Welcome to another week's episode of the Messenger Mastermind podcast. We're so happy you're joining us. We are in that final push to last ship date, and we have another amazing guest who's going to bring a ton of really helpful info on how you can get started getting into success for next year. So without further ado, allow me to introduce Elizabeth Grojean, the founder of Baloo Living. Elizabeth, how's it going?
Hi there. So great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to have this chat.
Yeah, we are too, and we really appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure you're running around in 9 million places and you have a ton of stuff, so we really appreciate it. So before we dive in, one question I always love to ask everybody is, how did you get into this crazy game of ecom?
Yes. So my story is one that I've heard before, but anyway, I quit my job and went to Bali. So
Okay, awesome place.
um,
I loved the time I spent there.
yeah, such a special place. And I was going there with the intention of meeting the sort of digital entrepreneurial community. I had a sense that it was like alive and well there. So I wanted to put myself around people doing something similar to me. I was working in marketing in New York and was there for about 15 years, but kind of feeling like I was treading water in terms of like the meaning I was finding in my life and wanted to make a change. So I knew I had to put myself in a new environment, new surroundings, and Bali was the place that called to me, as it does to many people. And I highly recommend going there once travel opens up again to the world. Um, there's just a really wonderful community, really open, supportive people. And I took an FBA Amazon course and sort of joined the meetups and did my product research and went from there.
Okay, cool. So just know it. Can you quickly go over what Baloo Living is today and how you went from an Amazon FBA course to running a very successful D2C Shopify brand?
Yes. So Baloo Living is a sleep and wellness brand, and our core product is a weighted blanket. And these took off really in popularity around 2017. They'd always existed as a therapeutic tool to help people with sensory disorders or ADD, autism community. And then 2017, they were really popularized by a Kickstarter campaign, which sort of identified the connection between sleep and natural wellness, and the interest that was there and sort of sleep technology. And so 2017 happened to be the year that I was doing product research for an Amazon based business. I had a lot of qualms about launching through Amazon, but at the end of the day, as a someone starting small with my own small amount of money to invest, it was the most approachable way to get started in e-commerce. So as soon as I tried my first weighted blanket, though, and I'm speaking about them because I think by now pretty much everyone's familiar with what they are. But if anyone's not, a weighted blanket is something that is weighted 10 to 15% of your body weight, and then the even pressure over the body triggers the nervous system to a feeling of calm and safety, and they really help promote better sleep, deeper sleep, and soothe anxiety all naturally without medication. So that's the quick tag on weighted blankets. Um, but when I tried a product sample for the first time, and I was in Bali, so I quickly just flew to China and went to Canton Fair and met suppliers, got some samples, took one back with me, tried it, and it was sort of like a profound moment for me because I felt so deeply relaxed and it was completely unexpected. I didn't know that I could feel that calm and comfortable and relaxed, and I thought this is something that I would be like honored to share with other people. And so at that point, I felt like the brand that was created and became Baloo Living was really kind of channeling through me. It wasn't something that was even really strategic at all at that point. And being in a beautiful location, taking gorgeous photos in nature, choosing really high quality materials, looking for give backs and ways to connect the brand in meaningful ways to people was something that all kind of came from the very beginning in the genesis. And I think knowing it or not, maybe, even though Amazon was the platform that we first launched from, we were a brand from day one. So it didn't take very long at all for people to start finding us on our own website and affiliates and press to start talking about us.
Okay, so I know we're going to talk about a couple of things today, but I've just got to chase this one down because we argue about this all the time internally, and we always like try to help brands figure this out. So, how did you build a brand while launching on Amazon, and how did you make that decision to go Amazon first versus going DTC first?
Well, for us, timing was definitely part of it because if you were to try to start on Amazon now in our category, it would be impossible because it's completely saturated. But I was there at just the right time where there was a lot of opportunity. So I look at Amazon as a um, really great tool to generate cash to then scale your business off of Amazon if you're able to do that. I think that is the best approach to take. But you've got to do it in a category where you have that potential opportunity on Amazon. If it's too competitive, like you couldn't start a supplements business on Amazon, you'd have to be dumping buckets of cash into Amazon to get it to work. So it worked for us just because of the timing and the size of the market. The search volume was like bananas. And I think there was like one page of search results on Amazon at the time, and like every seller was doing 200K in revenue a month. And I was like, if I could just get like 5% of one of my competitors' revenue, I'll be happy. I'm just looking for a small like side gig at this point. So that was kind of a golden, I think, window of opportunity. But I do think that it's a lot more approachable if you're someone looking to start a business through Amazon. If you can find a niche like that, because it's a lot easier to start there, in my opinion, than it is with all of the infrastructure and systems and advertising that you need to start to launch a D2C brand off your own website because you're generating your own traffic. Whereas on Amazon, you're just trying to divert or take a piece of the traffic that's already there.
Yeah, definitely. So did you launch with like one hero product, just scale that up, had it to be a nice cash generator, and then from there basically just took all the learnings and launched to D2C? Or was it really like built out a robust Amazon business that was a huge driver for the business and then decided to layer on D2C later?
Oh, well, there's a whole story with what happened for us because I think I've had a lot of good fortune here. So we launched with two SKUs. It was a weighted blanket, cotton, white. I chose white to launch because everything else was gray. I was looking for that visual cue that would stand out on the page of search results. But I did hire a PR agency in the beginning. I'd worked for a high-end spirits brand before during their high growth phase, like years 2 and 3, and I'd seen like how much they'd invested in brand building and PR. And so this agency I hired was able to get us a spot in organically. I kind of organically. I mean, it wasn't pay to play, but in The Strategist, basically, with New York Magazine. So they did a feature article on the best weighted blankets to gift for 2018, which was like a huge year for weighted blankets. And we were named #1 in the guide. And I didn't know it was coming. It's an affiliate piece. So we did agree to their commission structure, but I didn't really know what that meant. But anyway, that article came out and we sold out of everything that we had for all of Q4 within 2 days. And I literally had I had a person come to my house and ring the doorbell looking for one of our weighted blankets because we were sold out everywhere.
Wait, how did they know where you lived?
They must have like dug into our like company name information. I don't know how she found it, but my business address was my apartment address in New York City. And so she came and rang my doorbell. She totally knew what she was doing, but she was like, my daughter wants one of your blankets for Christmas and I can't find one.
So despite the huge sales, that must be a really good indicator that you're onto something.
Yeah, so I mean, it was so exciting. We could have potentially sold millions that quarter, but of course they didn't have the inventory, so I sold everything that I had. We took some pre-orders, and I started to air freight in weighted blankets, uh, which is crazy. It's like $40 a unit, but there was a little bit of profit margin still left on that sale, so that we were doing whatever we could to get the inventory. But that was when sales shifted away from Amazon and onto our website because the article linked to our website.
Okay, so Okay, and that was my question was the PR when you shifted over to the website? Because I've I've seen some people on Amazon who get it and have the numbers that they can invest in PR to drive back to Amazon, but a lot of brands
Mhm.
either can't or don't want to. So how do you think about that? Like how do you think about those massive investments, where to drive that traffic to?
We always drive any kind of investment into our own website, and you know that if someone sees your name, there's going to be that percentage of shoppers that go to Amazon first because that's where they prefer to buy. So we relate to Amazon that way now as a distribution channel. We don't we don't compete aggressively to try to rank for broad search terms on Amazon and find customers or have customers find us there. We're really now there for branded search, and because our category again is so saturated and we're not competitive on price or volume for Amazon's algorithm anymore. So we're not really discoverable on Amazon, but we're there for the customer that always wants, the prime customer. Or like we did a sponsored episode on Dave Asprey's Bulletproof podcast last November, which was amazing. Um, and you'll have 50% of the people will Google search you and come to your website, and then the other half will go to Amazon. But I like to put the investment in our website because any kind of link backs, you're improving your SEO. Um, you can give that whole experience, the customer service, the email list, everything is getting built there. It's like the land you own versus the land you rent. So I prefer to invest in the land that we own.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen some people be able to be successful pushing that to Amazon, but I think it just makes, especially for press hits, it just makes so much more sense to get to the website because of
Yeah.
the SEO juice and all of the other subsequent benefits of it. So, was that your first like big experiment with affiliate? And was that like the aha moment where we're like, we need to channel this into our brand? Or was there like a culmination of smaller projects and then that one big gift guide really just set everything on fire?
No, I didn't even know what affiliate marketing was until we got that piece. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. I'd say we probably relied on 20 to 25% of all of our sales as directly linked through that article for the whole next year because it's so highly ranked and was so just well placed. So we've
Wait,
since
wait,
then
sorry.
invested.
That one
Yeah.
article drove a quarter of your sales for the entire next year as well?
Yes, that is the beautiful thing about affiliate is it's the gift that just keeps giving versus like a press hit, which is great for 5 or 7 days and then disappears. Affiliate is like the best.
Okay, wait. I want to dive into this a little more because that is just incredible. So you said it was a strategist in the New Yorker. Can you just briefly walk down like high level, what does the user experience of the article look like and why did it have such longevity to it?
Yes. So again, I think moment in time. So 2018. So it was a lot more of a blue sky or green field, I guess, for the category. But this piece, the best way to blanket to gift by the strategist, obviously they're professional affiliate organization and their audience is there for tips and recommendations on shopping and buying. So that's the first thing. And then on the article itself, it led in with our image at the top. So, we have this beautiful lifestyle product image at the top of the article that gets people's attention. And then they're ranked in order. And I think it's like, in this case, cited like an 80/20. Like the top listing got 80% of the juice, like why would you buy the second best recommended gift option when you can get the first? So I think there's a lot of to be said for competing for that top spot. In this case, I've talked to other affiliates that do listing and they'll say, like it's really incrementally better to be first, but for whatever reason in this article, first really mattered. And I think the visual element matters a lot too, because people see that. Um, and then they're investing in SEO, they're investing in, they're sending this out in emails regularly to their list. It's a revenue generator for them. And I think that they focused on it because weighted blankets at that time were just such a hot category.
So how did you get ranked number one? Like was that a exclusive access, premium content? It was just kind of that
That was
perfect
just pure
storm.
luck, just product, which I would say is also like something that doesn't get talked about as much in e-commerce. But I think part of what's helped us build our brand too has just been having a really extremely great product that people talk about and tell their friends about. And it's harder to measure online, but it's there in the background building your business.
Yeah, definitely. And it's that. Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. It's that thing like you can't exactly measure, but it has that multiplicative effect where you're just seeing all this other halo. So sounds like from there, I know we talked a little bit before this. So you from there, it sounds like that was a great grand slam for the first affiliate revenue,
Yeah.
and then that's been a big part of the business. And I definitely want to cover this because I feel like affiliate was so in vogue. Like, kind of ecom was built on affiliate, and then it kind of left the popular sphere when really paid social came about. And it sounds like you all really built a sustainable program on that. So can you just, for someone who maybe hasn't looked into it, doesn't really understand affiliate, can you just break
Mhm.
down, outside of obviously amazing pieces like that, like how your successful affiliate program operates and what are the components of a successful affiliate program?
Yeah, for us, it looks it's really tied closely to our PR because what we see is the most successful affiliate partners are those, you know, media companies that have staff. They know what they're doing. They have scale. So we have a handful of affiliates. Another one is the Wirecutter. I mean, that's a major source of revenue for us consistently. People trust it. They're there for product recommendations and shopping. Some sleep review blogs are also very important for us, but there's a really long tail. So I'd say, like, besides the mega partners, there's a huge drop off in terms of revenue that we get from smaller blogs or individuals or, maybe ambassadors. So I think affiliate can be confusing to people because there's so many ways to approach it. Like, you could have an affiliate program which is in working with individuals who are influencers or brand ambassadors, and that was confusing to me for a long time because I would hear these words and I thought that we needed to be building an army of spokespeople to promote our brand, but that never worked for us. I think it's been used by other brands well, like at scale, but that never did anything for us. So we kind of stopped thinking about that and instead just um, approach it where, like, the simple way that we've built our program, in addition to the partners that our PR firm has connected us with, have been just by Googling our main product category, seeing who shows up first. You can pretty much easily spot that those people in a competitive field, Google results, are focusing on being ranked first, and there's a reason why. So we'll just send cold emails out to them, share our company blurb, just ask for an introduction to talk to them and see if there's a place for us to work together. And that's the most straightforward way to do it, and that's how we've done it. But it is
Okay.
a small handful, and it's not like I wish we could have dozens of partners like this. We'd have like a bazillion-dollar company. Um, but it's really focusing, once you find those partners too, like, we treat it like a real relationship. We send holiday cards and gifts, and we send them emails when we have product announcements or sales coming up, because we know that they want to be able to take advantage of those sales moments too.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of follow-up questions from that. The first one was, this sounds so much like influencer, like the process, like influencer, like what people could do on social now, just like reach out to people, find good partners, send them free product, develop that relationship. So how do you delineate between a just influencer program and affiliate program, or do you see this as the same thing?
I think it's really different in that influencer to me usually means it's an individual and they might have a management team. Maybe they have a lot of followers, but we've never seen results off social media, for example. When I think of other influencers that, or an affiliate program that works for us, it's usually going to be a very dedicated either website and blog, like a review site. Well, that's the end of the story. Yeah, like review sites. So their audience is there intent on getting product recommendations, and they trust that site's credentials to give them non-biased um, reviews.
Okay, so is it literally like weighted blanket reviews and just Google that, find the top however
Yeah,
many?
well, since we're in the sleep space, there's like a handful of Sleep Foundation, Talk, Sleepopolis. There's these like sleep blogs. They might have started on mattresses, but a lot of them have expanded into categories for like sheets and bedding or weighted blankets, for example. So getting listed onto those.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a strong you probably have a naturally strong SEO function as well, because that sounds very SEO tangential.
Our SEO is decent. It's really hard to compete with the affiliates actually who are in our space
Okay,
for
so it's
for
like
our key
rank as high
terms.
as possible, and then work with everybody else who's gonna
Yeah,
always focus on solely that.
that's how I look at it.
Okay, so is it, because I feel like for somebody who hasn't really, like, there's so many parallels to influencer marketing, right? Like, look at hashtags, look at who are people promoting there, and I feel like it's
Hmm.
people don't really transition that over. But it sounds like it's a little bit of the same process. And maybe correct me if I'm completely wrong here, but like SEO terms that we want to focus on those, and then people who are above us create relationships with. And then, I mean, obviously like the wire cutters, that's a New York Times company,
That's the New
right?
York Times. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like massive organizations like that. So
Yeah.
like, is that you mentioned a PR, is that like an internal resource and a PR company working together to reach out to the small people, reach out to the big people? Like, how do you actually manage that so it's a like repeatable, scalable system?
We try to keep in touch with our PR firm as much as possible and say, like, this is who we're reaching out to for affiliate, because we don't want to have the overlap, because they don't like it to look like they don't know what their client's doing. We don't want to have anybody get pitched from two angles. Um, but we pretty much know they're not talking to anyone that's not a magazine or like they're fashion beauty kind of PR agency. So and they have listed us on CNET and a few other websites like that. But I'm just trying to think like a consumer. Like if I'm a consumer and I'm interested in weighted blankets, what am I going to search for? And I'll put those terms in and see, like, if I were shopping, what shows up first. And then more often than not, well, I'd say like 50-50, it's split between a media property link, and we might email our PR agency there and say, like, these are the websites that we'd love to get listed on. Can you please pitch us to them? And 9 times out of 10, they write back and they're like, yes, we're actively pitching all blah, blah, blah. There's nothing else we can do. We're like, okay, great. But then sometimes we find an opportunity, and it's just a lot of, actually, at the end of the day, we kind of felt like we got to the bottom of the well for us. There's only so many sites that are featuring these products. But then I started to think to myself, oh, well, wedding anniversary is cotton, second anniversary is cotton, we have cotton bedding. So, like, what bridal sites can we get on? So we actually just told the PR agency to pitch that angle and hope for something to come from that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a little bit of the whole like once you do the bed, I just like imagining it like product shots. Like once you do the bed lifestyle shot, you could just get into like all the home decor and all of those other places as well.
Yeah.
So it is interesting of like I mean, right, any marketing show, how deep do you go versus how wide do you go and balancing that out. And it's I
Hmm.
mean, I'm sure it's been a very interesting learning curve, like going through the process of just figuring out what does and doesn't work.
It's been really interesting to see. I mean, our firm does really great work for us, and we get anywhere from like 5 to 20 major links a month from, Bustle or Refinery 29 or Today or just all mainstream like Martha Stewart. But those don't drive any visitors or traffic. Like they almost do nothing for sales. Um, and then all of a sudden one will come along once a quarter or once a year, and it's a major hit. And we're like, wow, I wonder why. It just it just is the way that that site operates, I guess.
And then there's all the inherent SEO value of all the other link
Yeah.
backlinks, and then it's just that. I mean, I kind of feel like that's right. I feel like if you run ads on Facebook, 10 of them are going to suck, and that one is just going to return everything in the same manner. So it's
Yeah.
interesting how it's the exact same process, just in a different channel. So how? So it sounds like that was a big part of the growth lever today, and I know you all have been growing very aggressively despite not
Hmm.
raising any money over the past couple of years. So how have you then pivoted that into scaling the rest of the business and layering on the rest of the channels and how everything combines? Because I feel like a classic challenge a lot of brands don't understand is affiliate is very bottom of the funnel type
Hmm.
of attribution, whereas more of that mid funnel, upper funnel practices like the PR, just sounds like you have a pretty good understanding of how all of that full stack works. Like, how do you think about that? How do you balance the other channels with affiliate?
I'd say we haven't done as good of a job in the paid media landscape, only because it's kind of embarrassing to say this, but I just didn't recognize the importance of it as early on because I had such an early win with affiliate. I think like maybe too early, too easy. So I didn't appreciate how hard it is to really build a business.
Well, and also when you're in
Um,
Wirecutter already, it's pretty hard to
yeah.
justify the investment in paid.
um, and we've had a few changes with the team that we work with, and so every time you make a change, there's like adjustments. But yeah, I mean, kind of just going back to the value of affiliate is in that same kind of category, is that we like to also work with, I guess it's influencers, but it's someone with a lot of credibility that can make a recommendation, like Dave Asprey for Bulletproof. Um, because we are a bit higher price point. And so if someone's looking for a commodity item, they're never going to choose us. So we have had some success on Facebook. I would say like it did really well last year during COVID when there was such a emphasis on home and health and comfort and safety. But Facebook and really kind of growing that channel has been hard for us. But that said, I think we get pretty good returns. Like I recently brought in an independent consultant. He was seeing our ROAS and was like, "These numbers are really great." And I was like, "But they're like a 2x. Like that's not that great." But he seemed to think that that was really strong. So I don't know. We look more like for a 3 or higher. Uh, but maybe that's why we keep our program smaller because we don't scale it as aggressively because we're bootstrapped and self-funded. So we want that first sale to be profitable. And we don't have a much, our first order is pretty similar to our lifetime value. We haven't really succeeded at increasing that lifetime value only because we need to add some products to our store, which I could talk a lot about, like, uh, ideas, challenges for me just personally in trying to expand and how to think about the product mix. Because for me, it's hard to beat something like a weighted blanket, which is so experiential and can be so profoundly helpful for people in their lives. And I want to find something else that we add that's compatible that is equally, great for someone to bring into their home, and it's a high bar.
Yeah, I'd love to dive into I want to call it the curse of the hero product. So I used to be
Right.
the econ manager at a company called Lumi. We sold Kim Kardashian's self favorite selfie case, and we had that exact problem, right? Like there's no product that you're going to release that's going to beat like secret to Kim Kardashian selfie game. And so we spent years trying to develop all these different versions, and like literally it just ended up being like the biggest wins for us were just different designs of the cases and just rolling out like colorway launches. And then it was just like, what
Hmm.
else can we glom on to that because that product was so
Hmm.
successful? So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different processes to go through, but like, how have you all tackled that problem of like, okay, we have one because it sounds like right, it's popped every single stage of like it popped on Amazon, then it popped in affiliates. We launched D2C, and I'm sure it's scaled really nicely now. And it is that challenge of like, do we just add on a bunch of complementary things and just try to push first time AOV up as high as possible? What can we do on the back end? So how have you all navigated that, which I feel like is just a really difficult challenge that a lot of brands face?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of execution, there's two things. There's what we're actually doing, and then there's what I would like us to be doing. So they're two different things. So what we're actually doing is expanding in weighted blankets, because the reality is it's an enormous market, and we're kind of like Ford, like you can have any color car as long as it's black. Well, we kind of stuck with white blankets for such a long time just because they didn't have the cash to expand the SKUs in multiple directions. We started expanding in size and weight options, but we didn't want to also add the dimension of color variability because that becomes so many SKUs. So now we're started adding kids weighted blankets, which are all plant-based dye. Like we have this very eco-friendly ethos in everything that we do. That's like in the product and also in our practices. But we also just launched plant-based dyed for our throw size, and those are selling really well. They just came out. Kind of embarrassed. I'm like, it took us so long to get past white, but they're here now and they're beautiful. And then we're adding a personalization product option to our blankets for the holidays, and that should be launching any day now. So by the time this episode is live, it should be definitely live, so you can get monogrammed and personalization done. And that's important because this is a really popular gift item. So I think it's a really nice way to make it even like that much more special. Um, so we really just expanded you know, the range for the hero product. Um, we've got an eye mask and a set of meditation speakers, which are really lovely, but they're quietly just being sold on our website in small quantities. So that's the reality. And then we've been expanding in markets. So there's the United States, of course. We have a Shopify site for Canada and one for the UK. And the way both of those came on was we tested with Amazon first because we know that's where you can kind of get a gauge for the customer's interest through the searches. And then you can use FBA warehouses for early fulfillment. Once you get yourself a little bit of a toehold in a new market, then you have your goods in the country, and then you can just ship them from Amazon over to your new warehouse. So that's how we've launched in the Canada and the UK. And I'm really excited about the UK. I think there's some good potential there. It'll be 20% of the United States market size, but that's still pretty good size. market. So what we've done is expanded the product line in the same category and then expanded the market geographies. We're doing a little bit of wholesale drop shipping with some really nice brands. Like speaking of the Kardashians, we're on Pusha's website. We
Oh,
were
nice.
Kendall Kardashian's pick for the holidays for her gift guide. So some nice partnerships there, but the wholesale market is like 5% for us of our D2C. What I would love for us to be doing is organizing around ourselves around a principle of sanctuary and sacred space and adding products for the home and for personal space that fill that out in the mindfulness category, comfort, self-care, bedroom, things like that. And I guess that's the issue is like no product is going to come out and be as pivotal as our hero product. But I think when you can create a sum that, the products all together speak for the brand, that's a really nice thing to be able to do. My challenge is as a self-funded company, like where do you get the cash to launch like a whole range of products all at once? And who's going to do it?
Yeah, those are definitely some really tough. There's a ton of things that I want to peel out there. We might have to have you back on to talk about that internationalization strategy because I feel like not enough brands think about Amazon as a testing ground to go into new markets before. Because I'm sure like you all did that before you went and got a 3PL partner and started to like personalize ads and landing pages and things like that. But yeah, well, actually, one piece just on the Kardashian thing, just because this was the most successful thing we did. Um, have them collabs. Collabs with them will be probably one of the fastest ways to grow the brand and solve the cash problem because you can do a limited edition design of a core product with them. And instead of rolling out like white, gray, black, you can do a Pasha's favorite or a Kendall's favorite. So we
Oh,
did that
yeah.
we did that limited edition run. It was like I was talking about before, like we literally just did Komojis on the back of a case. Wildly
Mm-hmm.
the most successful thing we've ever done. Huge press hits, all of that like other halo effect to the business.
Yeah.
There's some ways you have to structure it, but it's so impactful, and that will also unlock the growth to then be able to expand the product line.
I would love to hear more about that.
Okay. Yeah. What I can share publicly, your team works with their team to come up on an agreement. And then basically what it was here's the product, here's what we're already producing, here's what's super popular. You work with their team to design something where basically like a
Mm,
designer on your side works with them. It works really well if it's supporting something that they're already working on.
mhm,
And then you just have a huge launch. And similar to how they're probably promoting your product in their whatever their like gift guides, channels, sales stores today, you'll have some sort of distribution deal with them where you break that down as well so that you launch X number of that product on your website, they get X number of units, and then it's this huge marketing and PR push around that. Um, and yeah, it was just incredibly successful. Like if I had stayed at Lumi longer, that was like what I would have loved for us to do is just keep doing more and more of that because you'll be surprised by how many people will come back to buy more weighted blankets because of that,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
which was really interesting also. So highly recommend that. So I guess for the other products, for how you're thinking about that, is that like people come back and they make subsequent purchases. And so I buy a weighted blanket on my first purchase, get in, like the brand, have a strong affiliation, and then I'm coming back for some sort of repeat purchase, or is it more of just like a big second bundle that we try to get as many people from first purchase to make that second purchase?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think of it in terms of repeat purchase because we right now are 80% first time customers, 20% returning customers. And most of the time they're coming back to buy. Sometimes they say this is for my beach house. Usually it's like it's for my boyfriend, it's a gift, but there's only so many people you'll gift $100 plus item to. So I'm thinking of it in terms of repeat purchase because we do have a lot of customers who really love what we do. It's a smaller subset, but there is some brand loyalty there. And when we launch new products, we did launch linen bedding, so we have linen sheets now, which are absolutely divine. But they're selling much more slowly than our core product. Um, the other way I think about it as well is as creating the brand experience. So I'll use an example. A friend of mine has a headband company brand. She mostly sells on FBA. She's got 10 colors. 80% of people buy black. But she's like, if I run out of red and yellow, my sales go down by like 30%. And it's not because they want to buy red and yellow, but they want to see the color selection and then they're going to buy what they're going to buy. So I think I'm also considering additional products in terms of just rounding out, what we're here for, what we stand for as a brand. And our money makers will stay our money makers.
Yeah, it is always interesting how every brand has that. I don't know what to call those products, but kind of like I really wish I had a good name, but just the products that people love to view, like the
Mm-hmm.
look-sees
The shop.
products.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they never actually buy. So yeah, and then I mean, I've never figured out anybody who could figure out like how much inventory do you invest in just for that benefit. That's a really interesting product. Do you have any like strong thoughts of how you all want to test that one way or the other?
I mean, I've had early conversations with how we might test it. I think you can always run Facebook ads and kind of see to a landing page and see how many customers are willing to show interest through clicking through. Um, that's all I have to say. No, I don't really know.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of people also just pre-selling stuff. Like they'll just put 5 units
Yeah.
into the back end of Shopify, and if they sell out of
Hmm.
whatever that number is, they just refund the people or ask them to take it as a pre-order. So yeah, I think it is interesting how like that tried and true tactic really, or you could honestly, you didn't probably need to run a Facebook ad. You probably could email existing customers, see what their interest is. We've done that a lot also, where we'll like text the customer list, being like, "Hey, we're thinking of these two products. Which one do you prefer?" And then take their how many people respond and then what the breakout is like whether a product will be successful or not. If you want to save the money and not decrease that 3x ROAS on Facebook.
Right.
Cool. Well, so I know you're extremely busy. In wrapping up, I have a couple questions I love to ask everybody, and I think I'm gonna get some interesting answers. So my first question is, what's one piece of content that you recommend everybody listening should consume? It can be anything, a book, blog, podcast, video, whatever you want. The only caveat is it can't be your own.
The book that I would highly recommend, and this is not such a marketing or business book, but it's just a human book, is Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. And it's on the subject of, um, you know, true power vibrates at a high frequency, whereas force is at a lower frequency. And the range of human emotions is on the scale of 0 to 900 or something, and it can be measured. And it helped me understand, I think in business and in personal life, when I'm trying to force something through versus when I'm working in alignment. And there's a lot of power in when you're aligned and in integrity. You kind of can't mess it up. And when you're trying to force something, there's a high price you can sometimes pay, break things, or just make mistakes. It's a super interesting book. Sort of, I think, I don't know if this is accurate, but I'd say somewhat about like quantum physics type of material.
Interesting. Okay, I'll have to check that out and add that to my list. I always love to use the analogy of am I swimming upstream or downstream.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to have that a little bit more formalized. So my next question for you: if you had to go back to Bali, start it all over again, what's one lesson that you'd impress upon yourself that in take two you'd make sure you get right?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. What I had to learn, and I learned slowly, was just the importance of data and to be very clear about data for decision making over gut feel, especially when it comes to building a business, and especially getting, and I think that goes in line with making assumptions. So starting, what's the old adage? It's like if Abraham Lincoln had to cut down a tree, he'd spend like, I'm going to mess it up, an hour thinking about his strategy and then 5 minutes doing it. So just the importance of having clear data.
Okay, yeah, and the balance between making gut-driven decisions versus data-driven decisions. Okay, yeah,
Right.
that's a good one. My next question for you: if you were in my seat, you're interviewing Elizabeth. What did we miss? What should we have talked about?
Oh, I think one thing that is really interesting to talk about that I've been thinking a lot about is the decision that a lot of us are making in terms of growing for growth's sake, wanting to always be growing and expanding and building a business and making more money and selling more products. seems to be the name of the game in sales, marketing, and e-commerce. And I've just been asking myself a lot about the question of, why do I want to grow? It's this Western mindset and the capitalistic mindset. Or is it that I want something maybe alternative to growth just for growth's sake? And I'm a type A person. I love challenges. I love working hard. But I've been just thinking a lot about that question.
What is the answer to that question?
I don't
Or
know
what's
the
your answer to that question?
answer. I think that the place that I would look for the answer to this question is more about, what do I want the quality of my life to be look like? And then it could go left or right fork. It's just a question of, who are the people I'm doing it with, and why. So I'm looking closely at that why. If I can't find a good answer, I might need to make different plans.
Yeah, I feel like everybody in the beginning is so like, is this going to work? Can I get this off the ground? Can I just like have enough to cover expenses? And then it gets to the place where it's stable and like it does work. And then you kind of have that moment, like you pick your head up and it's like, okay, where do we head from here? What are we doing next?
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of businesses have had huge pivots or really good changes because of that. So excited to see what's the next chapter. So final question for you: if anybody wants to learn more about yourself or Baloo, where should they go?
Our website is balooliving.com and our Instagram is Baloo Living. And the best place to reach me would be on Instagram as well, which is Elizabeth Monette. And that's my middle name, Manette, or LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate the time. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to another week's episode of the Messenger Mastermind podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with another e-commerce marketer. And always let us know what you think down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you're looking for cutting-edge tactics and the resources that we rely on to run our businesses, sign up for our newsletter. We'll include a link down below. As always, stay confident, connect with your customers, and keep crushing it.